Hi, and welcome to Assignment the World for the week of March 7th. I'm Tej Jenkins. Our top story this week, automatic spending cuts are put into effect after Washington fails to reach an agreement. $85 billion in federal spending cuts took effect over the weekend after the nation's top government officials made no progress on how to avoid reductions in defense and domestic spending. The president conceded after the session that he hadn't been able to persuade Republicans to accept his proposal to reduce deficits with a blend of tax hikes and long-term reductions in entitlement spending. Obama said he still believes the cuts can be replaced, but he wants a deal that includes more tax revenue by closing wasteful loopholes. He said it may take a couple of weeks or a couple of months to find a fix for the impasse. House Speaker John Boehner said he and Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell told Obama they were willing to close tax loopholes, but only to lower taxes overall, not to replace spending cuts. Still, following a nearly hour-long meeting in the White House, Obama and the top four leaders in Congress generally agreed not to create a crisis out of the March 27th deadline, when federal authority to spend on government operations runs out.
Each year, the United States government spends trillions of dollars to keep America running on a daily basis. It is the president's responsibility to propose a spending plan to the federal government for the coming fiscal year. According to the Constitution, the federal budget must be approved by Congress. This is part of the checks and balance system that was put in place by the founding fathers of the United States.
And in the rest of the news this week, John Kerry visits Egypt. South Korea's first female president is inaugurated, and election results in Italy are too close to call. Voters in Italy showed their concern after the results of the national parliamentary election were inconclusive. Most Italians thought this election would bring an end to more than 13 months of political uncertainty. Instead, it seemed only to have extended that uncertainty, with voters placing the country in an unprecedented situation. The voters failed to pick a clear winner capable of forming a majority in either of the two parliamentary houses. Pierluigi Bersani, Democratic Party leader, narrowly won in the lower house over former Premier Silvio Berlusconi, while no party was in the lead for the Senate. South Korea's first female president, Park Geun-hye, was inaugurated last week. At her inauguration, a band played a military march before a crowd of tens of thousands, including U.S. National Security Advisor Tom Donilon. Before Park took her oath of office, South Korean superstar Psy performed his global hit Gangnam Style. Park is no stranger to politics, though. Her father, Park Chung-hee, was dictator over South Korea for 18 years. Park is stepping into her new role at a critical time for South Korea. She must not only answer to the victims of her father's dictatorship, but also address worries about lack of jobs, a growing gap between the rich and poor, and a stagnant economy. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with Egypt's President Mohamed Morsi on Sunday, wrapping up a visit to the deeply divided country with an appeal for unity and reform. The U.S. is deeply concerned that continued instability in Egypt will have broader consequences in a region already rocked by unrest. U.S. officials said Kerry planned to raise the issue of Egypt's regional role with Morsi and his top security aides. Kerry also stressed the importance of upholding Egypt's peace agreement with Israel and cracking down on weapons smuggling to extremists in the Gaza Strip.
In our top story, how much money did we say was automatically being cut from federal spending? Was it $85 billion, $60 billion, $40 billion? And the correct answer is number one. $85 billion in federal spending cuts automatically took place on Friday after a deal was not reached.
And now it's time for the answers to last week's clues in the news. Find the location of our first clue and you get New Orleans, Louisiana. Oil giant BP is back in court arguing why they should not be penalized for the Gulf oil spill in 2010. BP has already spent $4 billion after pleading guilty to criminal charges for the spill. The oil company could be looking at another $20 billion in fines if found guilty of gross negligence or carelessness during the disaster. Unscramble the letters of our second clue and you get Yahoo. Yahoo's CEO and president Marissa Mayer is making a change to the company that not everyone is happy about. Mayer has announced that Yahoo employees will no longer be able to work from home. Yahoo employs over 11,000 people, but it is unclear how many of those work full-time from home. All employees will have to start reporting to the office in June. Fill in the blanks of our third clue and you get snowstorm. The Midwestern United States was hit by a snowstorm last week. The Kansas City area was hit hard by the blizzard. Heavy snow toppled trees and brought down power lines. Snowplows couldn't keep up with the snow, and utility crews struggled to restore power to the 25,000 customers that were in the dark. This was the second major snowstorm to hit the area this winter.
This week in world history, March 5th, 1770, American colonists, known as patriots, gather at a customs house in Boston to protest the occupation of the city by British troops. The angry colonists start throwing snowballs and other objects they could find. A shot was fired, causing both British soldiers and colonists to open fire and react. When the gunfire was over, 5 patriots had been killed. The events of this day would later be known as the Boston Massacre and are considered the first fatalities of the American Revolution.
All this month on Assignment The World, we will be celebrating Women's History Month. This week we sit down with Dr. Margaret Martin to learn about her role in the Harmony Project. Check it out.
My name is Dr. Margaret Martin, and I'm the founder and Director of Program Expansion for Harmony Project, which is a nonprofit organization that connects disadvantaged kids with professional musician mentors 5 or more hours a week and sticks with them year-round, tuition-free for their entire childhood. For me, the most rewarding thing is watching kids come to discover the truth about their own creative potential. How do you shift a kid for whom the whole world is about powerful others and they are the effect of everything? They're the effect of their parents, their older siblings, and their parents are the effect of powerful others. How do you shift that worldview? You put an instrument into that child's hands and you teach her to make that instrument sing, and you stick with her month in, month out, year in, year out, until she can really play that thing. You've eliminated poverty here, because that child will never be poor, because that child can always create their way out of whatever circumstance they find themselves in. My first child was born when I was 17. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I was homeless for a year with 2 kids. I enrolled at Los Angeles Community College, City College when I was 33. 10 years later, I'd earned a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate, and I started creating Harmony Project to create structures that would help other people. If you're disadvantaged and you accomplish things, it's also your duty to turn around and make a difference. Get a goal and be relentless and find somebody who can help you achieve that goal. If you've got a vision, you can get that vision done. Just be willing to work really hard and don't stop asking.
SpaceX Dragon cargo capsule reached the International Space Station over the weekend. The unmanned capsule carried supplies for the crew and their experiments. The Dragon did run into a small issue during takeoff when 3 of the 4 thrusters did not work, but the problem was quickly fixed. This is SpaceX's second of 12 supply missions with NASA. SpaceX became the first private company to deliver supplies to the International Space Station on NASA's behalf in October.
Early Earlier in the show, we discussed how Yahoo's president and CEO Marissa Mayer is no longer letting employees work from home. Mayer says that she wants Yahoo employees to become more focused on collaboration and communication, and thinks it is hard to accomplish this from home. Some people agree with Mayer and believe that people should not be allowed to work from home. They feel that people can be distracted easily at home and that employees may not be as productive. They also feel that relationships are better with coworkers when they see each other face to face every day. Others disagree. They feel that people could be more productive when they work at home. They can make their own schedule and get more done when they are not under the constant watchful eye of their boss. They also feel that there are just as many distractions at work as there would be at home. These people feel that as long as your work is being completed well and on time, that it shouldn't matter where you are. Well, we want to know what you think. Should employees be allowed to work from home? Why or why not? Discuss this issue with your classmates after the show and then write to us with your opinions. We received 150 responses to our issue question: should school funding and teacher pay be based on student standardized test scores? The majority of you, 93%, say no, while 7% say yes. 0% were undecided. Courtney from Kohler, Wisconsin writes, teachers' pay should be based on standardized test scores. It would be a good way to motivate teachers to provide the best education possible for their students. Anna from Kohler, Wisconsin writes, teachers are responsible for how well they teach their students. We need a way to decide if they are doing that. But still, most of you feel that teacher pay should not be based on students' test scores. Rachel from Greece, New York writes, a teacher could be teaching a student everything they can, but a student may have trouble understanding it to an extent. Sarah from Churchville, New York says, there are so many other things that go into a student doing well on a test besides the teaching that he or she has received. Peyton from Olawine, Iowa says, kids might want to get back at their teachers and do poorly on tests. Jessa from Jamestown, North Dakota writes, if a student doesn't do well in school and doesn't do well on a test, that's on the student, not the teacher. Kylene from Greenfield, Wisconsin writes, teachers cannot force kids to pay attention and study for tests. Some students also do not do as well as others on tests, and teachers can't be held responsible for that. But we look forward to your responses to our latest questions. Do you think that more safety precautions need to be put in place for spectators at sporting events? And should employees be allowed to work from home? We'll put some of the more thought-provoking emails and letters on air.
Who did we say was the first female president of South Korea? Was it Park Chung-hee, Park Young-soon, Park Geun-hye? And the correct answer is number 3. Park Geun-hye was inaugurated as South Korea's first female president last week.
And now it's time for next week's Clues in the News. Our first clue is a location: 31 degrees, 51 minutes north latitude, 35 degrees, 11 minutes east longitude. Our next clue is a scrambled letters clue, and it is 2 words. First word, Latnbia. Second word, Katstac. And finally, our third clue is a fill-in-the-blank clue, and it is 1 word, F blank blank LO blank GH blank. These are clues to stories we think will happen in the coming weeks. We'll reveal the answers on next week's show. Good luck! And that's it for this week's show. But before we go, I'd like to give a big shout out to Chenango Bridge Elementary in Binghamton, New York. I'm Tej Jenkins. Have a great week.